Here we are on signing day central to bring you something other than a signing because, hey, now I don't have the spatula like I did last year, but Michael Langston, we're on flip alert here as wide receiver, former West Virginia commit Teriq Mallory flips from the Mountaineers and is now a Seminole. You are the senior recruiting analyst, Michael Langston, so take it from here on Warchant TV. Florida State gets a yes from a pass catcher.
Yeah, Mallory visited this weekend. A tall pass catcher at that. You watch. I think that's kind of been the theme. Probably will still be the theme as we go along. 6'5", 185. But a guy that you watch him that they spent a lot of time on the last few weeks. You remember they offered him in November. That was his dream school. Kind of perked up when I heard that. I was like, okay, that's certainly interesting. And certainly they got him in for an official visit, seemed to knock it out. But even before that, I really felt like this kid was going to be in the class, despite what was going to happen at West Virginia with them firing Neil Brown. I think he was already pretty much set in stone that it was going to be FSU is going to be that was going to be the place that he was going to go. They have a history with big receivers. I think that also resonates with uh, with Magic Mallory, as he calls him. That's what his tag said, and we talked to him. But I think what you notice when you watch him, Tom, is just the top end speed for a guy that size. Moves really well. Speed, different go routes, different deep routes. There's no problem. Even separation on the middle range with the speed is certainly there. I think you don't see a lot of stuff in the middle too much with him. So you'd like to see a little more with what he does from route perception type of stuff. But I think if that stuff can increase and that stuff can go in there, I think they got a gym. I think they got a hell of a gym of what he does because of that speed. I like the way he uses his hands when he's pressed. And I certainly like his hands when you get down there as you see a lot of this one with either jump balls or just short routes inside the red zone. I think he's a very attractive prospect. Surprised it's not more of a low star, 4-star, but just that speed and that size, you just don't usually see that combination. But I think with this kid, there's a lot to like about that catch radius and then also that speed.
Yeah, okay. I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna go back 10 seconds on the clip here of the highlight reels. Usually we just let these things run, but Michael, he's
Yeah.
running a drag route here, and that gives you a sense of the speed that you're working with at 6'5". Again, rangy but speedy. Here it is on a drag route across the formation, and you can see he's got wheels. You're right.
Yeah.
There's something to that there. So at 6'5", rangy speed, Florida State's trying to rebuild its offense. This is also a kid that played on the other side of the football as well, Michael. That continues a trend for Mike Norvell, no matter who the assistant coaches are. They really like those guys that have greater understanding. And there's a great jump ball catch right there.
Yeah.
Greater understanding of the game of football on both sides. And this is another one of those athletes who profile play both ways.
Yeah, and I think they look at their roster and it's like, you know what, we don't have a lot of guys that have length and height, and certainly you got one with Jordan Scott, who we talked about, before that they landed, but adding another guy with length, and they're probably not done. Ty Gelsey is another one, 6'5", committed to Florida that they're trying to pull in as well. So you really see a sense of switch of the wide receiver room, but what we're used to, where before it was kind of like get these speedy guys or just playmakers, where they want more length and height that they can take advantage of teams. I think they've seen that with how that worked with Johnny Wilson and
Mm-hmm.
just the catch radius that you have. The one thing that they're lacking so much in this offense, and we watch it all year in this rough 2-10 season, is the receivers just don't get open in whatever way you want to utilize it. It's like whether it's separation with speed or separation with length, they're not getting that, and I think that's kind of why we see a little bit of the shift that they got to find ways to get their guys the ball. And two, I think if you're rebuilding this offense with Gus Malzahn and whoever they add as the offensive line coach, you have to give them the pieces around them. I think certainly to block it up, you have to run anything. You got to be able to block it up, but also you got to have pass catchers that are going to give you an advantage that can slowly push these quarterbacks. Whether you go with Luke or a transfer portal guy, who I think's more likely. I think you have to give them the ingredients you need to make the special dish if you want to do what you want to do. And I think that's kind of where they're at, and why we see a lot of the targets that they're going after late in this cycle of early sign day.
So I wanted to get your sense, Michael, because again, this is leading into early signing day. This is something where you have a kid on campus the final weekend before the early signing period begins. Mike Norvell doesn't have a wide receivers coach as we speak, as we're
Yeah.
recording this, but he played the position. I just want to know how they're managing that particular part of it. You don't have an interim guy. You don't have a replacement named, at least in this moment. So how do they handle recruiting this position? Because you're right, they do get a rangy JUCO kid and now 6'5" target out of West Virginia. How are they managing wide receiver?
Yeah, I think Mike's very hands-on. I think Magic kind of talked about that on his official visit, where Mike's very hands-on. So it's like he kind of knows that the recruits know kind of what he's looking for, and the head coach is telling you, "Hey, this is what we're looking for in a receiver." And Mike's fact played it. I think even Gus has experience with it, so I think that will help now further that Gus is on board. I think, but for the most part, I think Mike's been handling that from all these recruitments of receivers really personally. If you talk, we talked to all the recruits, they're always saying how Norvell's been the main ones that they talked to and spent the most time with. So I think Mike's had an input as far as this stuff, and then once they get the receiver coach, I think it'll be just magnified of that guy, and then then build the relationships from there. But I think it's been very hands on with Mike, and now you'll see a lot more of that with Gus, also handling that since you have your offensive coordinator, and so I think everything put together. And that was my criteria with both of these coordinators is I want player development. I want guys that know what they want to do, and I think they've accomplished that with both of these things, especially with Gus. And I think he'll certainly help with kind of what you're searching for on the at the receiver position.
I'll ask you for in like a minute or 2 minutes time.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Gus Malzahn, his reputation on the trail. I mean, Michael, you've been covering recruiting for a long time. When Gus Malzahn was the offensive coordinator at Auburn, when he was the head coach at Auburn, and obviously some stops along the way before that, but he's been in big time college football for quite a while. What was his rep like when Florida State would battle Auburn back in the day?
Yeah, really solid recruiter. Still is. If you look back at his class of what he's got I mean, he got Javion Hillison early on. There's several guys, Javion Boggs. He's got several 4 stars across the board, even some 4-star offensive tackles, I think, in their class that we know FSU will probably pursue. So his reputation is still that he does really well with how he resonates and how recruits view him. So relationships is a big deal. I think that's probably why it was a big attraction as well to go along with the history of him as a play caller and what he does and how to build a program, how to build an offense and run an offense. I think that also played into it. But I think relationships were a big deal, and I think certainly he'll add a lot as well to the relationships. But from a recruiting standpoint, I think certainly he's going to check the boxes for you. And we've already seen that with what he's done at this class. I mean, we're talking about Central Florida. It's like no slight against Orlando and or anything Central Florida, but it's hard to recruit from there when you're competing with the big boys like Florida, Florida State, and Miami, and certainly he's got his share of top talent. So I think recruiting's not going to be a problem for him.
Michael Langston working the phones constantly over the last couple of weeks, and he will be through the signing period here on warchant.com, Warchant TV. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel, hit the like button underneath the video, subscribe to Warchant TV. It's absolutely free, and keep up to date with the latest on Florida State's 2025 class and the portal and all of that on the premium recruiting board headed up by our own Michael Langston. Michael, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
You got it. See you soon.
See you soon.